Good day, everybody. It is Calxiyn here, and today I'm going to be doing my reaction and review for Mega Leech, and I'm super excited. I'm so happy that we're getting regular Miraculous Ladybug content again. But before we get into it, let me remind you all that you should subscribe if you want to be notified when I post Miraculous Ladybug videos. You should join the Discord server or check out my other social medias. I do have like a Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And thank you to all my patrons and YouTube membership members for directly contributing and supporting the channel. If you want to give me the direct support I need to continue making videos while getting some cool rewards, links for that are in the description. Or if you want to send like a one-time tip thing, I have a link that I use. It's the Calxiyn.com link that I use when I'm Twitch streaming. Sometimes when I'm streaming, people will send a small tip, and so you can use that at any time. I do not need to be streaming for you to use that, so that's another good way to support me because these videos do not get monetized. But if you don't have any of that, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. The best thing that you can do to leave your support is leave a comment. Again, subscribing, making sure that all of your notifications are on, and then just following my theories and stuff that can be monetized. I am going to make a theory this week, and it's going to be called, like, Cat Noir is falling out of love with Ladybug, I think. Hopefully this episode doesn't, like, contradict that theory, because I worked really hard on it, and so hopefully y'all will see that very soon. But without further ado, for real now, let us get into the video. Ooh, is this episode gonna be about Mylene? That's kind of cool, because we don't really see that much of her, other than, like, for, Horrificator. But she's saying she's not afraid, so she's gotten over, like, fear. So I wonder what will it be, what it will be this time. Aw, they're so cute, little mouse, though. That's a clue, for sure. Marinette's just like, bro, I save the city every day, and y'all can't let me sleep in? Damn, bro, they're peacefully protesting. Yeah, you can't arrest people like that, okay? Protesting is like a core of French culture. Bro, you can't arrest them. That's not legal. Excuse me. This is a violation of our human rights, okay? Oh my god, they're in the cop car? Really? Oh my god, where's Ladybug to uphold civil justice? Yeah. Damn! Oh man, she's like, I'm a lawyer! I'm a teacher, but I'm a oh! Yeah! Civic rights, let's go! Oh yeah, you tell him, Mylene! Oh my god, wait, what? Oh, Adrien, you knew about this? You sellout! How could you? Oh, but see, Adrien didn't know he's been manipulated. Oh no. Yeah, you want to sell it, bro. Damn, you tell the Marinette. Oh, the news people, they caught him, bro. Damn. Oh no. Oh no. And we didn't notice. Oh, that sucks. Oh yeah, I like this. Oh my god, hand holding. Oh damn, look at this. Adrien's getting his fans to save the trees. Oh, look how angry Adrien is too, bro. Yeah, damn. So he's getting akumatized, right? He set this man up for Okay, so... Oh, this is so cool! Ah, Kagami! It's been so long, Kagami! Yeah! Ah, look at them! They're so cool! Oh, this is so cool! Nice, nice, nice! Yeah! This is awesome! Oh my gosh! Seeing everyone work together like this! Ah. Alright, sir. We've had enough, okay? No more Akumas from you, okay? Please don't do it. You could put something in the budget so they get a salary, you know? Give a salary to the superheroes. Oh! Yay, more trees! A big tree! Yeah, good job, Mylene! Damn! Damn! Uh-oh! Oh no! No! Damn! Damn! Whoa! Well, that's not nice! Damn! He's fiddling with his ring! The suspicion! Damn. That's interesting. Alright, everybody, let us get into the discussion now. And this episode had some very interesting stuff, especially more so at the end, but I like to go in chronological order, so we will go all this way through. And I do like Mylene getting kind of an episode to shine herself, since we've gotten a lot for, like, Rose and Juleka, but I think the only, like, Mylene-centric episode that I remember was Horrificator, which is still good, but I just feel like that the other classmates have really gotten more attention, especially more so lately compared to her. Like, you know, there's been 4 seasons of this show, so obviously I could be, like, forgetting stuff from, like, the earlier seasons and everything, but I feel like that it's nice that we're kind of continuing, like, her little character arc, which is, like, getting over her different fears and stuff like that. So she's basically, like, giving herself a pep talk, which I think is really cool. She's like, I'm not afraid. I can do this. I'm not afraid. I can do this, right? Because she has to go and protest in front of all of these people. It's a very, you know, like a very scary situation to be in or to put yourself in, too. Because she doesn't have to do this. She's choosing to do this. And those can be the situations which are even more scary. And so then Ivan's waiting for her outside, and I just thought that this was really cute as well. Just, like, seeing their relationship and stuff. And I like that they call him Teddy, and I wonder if that's a hint towards the Miraculous he'll get, but I don't think it is, because I think he's supposed to get, like, the Bull Miraculous or something. Like, last time I checked, I think that that's the one he's supposed to get, so I'm not sure. Like, maybe in the English, they'll call it, like, something else, right? Because obviously this is a different dub of the show and everything, and so I sort of wonder that. I'm like, like, that doesn't seem like it can be, because I don't think there is a Bear Miraculous within, like, the zodiac signs and everything, but there is, like, an ox, and I think that Ivan is going to be the ox, I think. Again, I can't remember exactly, but he calls her Mouse, right? So I'm like, I wonder if in the English they will foreshadow, like, his as well, instead of just calling him, like, Teddy, right? Because they say, like, oh, I love you, little mouse, right? And that's, like, foreshadowing later to when she gets the Mouse Miraculous, right? So I'm sort of thinking, and I'm just like, like, I wonder if, like, in some of the other, like, translations, they'll put in a little foreshadowing towards his as well, to the Miraculous that he's getting. And he does say, like, hey, like, you know, you're doing a great job, like, you're getting better and better each time we have to do something scary, I guess he's basically kind of saying. Like, you know, you, talked yourself up, to confidence a lot faster than previously. You didn't stay scared. And so I thought that this was just a really nice scene, and they have, like, a little kiss. I think I missed it. Meanwhile, Marinette's just trying to sleep, okay? She's had, like, a long day as, you know, Ladybug, or I guess a long night, like, who even knows, right? And she's trying to sleep, and she's just like, bro, what is happening? And what I thought was so cute, which I didn't notice at first, but look, so Tiki's sleeping on this, like, pillow, and then, Pollen, question mark, is sleeping over here, and then Waz is sleeping, and then I think that that's actually the Ox Miraculous, Kwame, not the Miraculous, the Kwame up there, and so I was just like, oh, that's so cute, they just, like, all sleep around to her room, like, that's so nice, like, instead of, like, sleeping in the box, I guess, that's so cute, and I just thought that that was, like, really wholesome. So this is the mayor talking, and like Marinette's just like, bro, like what is happening? Like what is going on? And so they basically want, and they talk about this later, they want to build this tower to, I guess, like, take in the pollution and then change it into clean air and then, like, sell it. Like, it's, like, bottled air. It's some sort of, like, money scheme. And I'm pretty sure that that's, like, very dystopian. Like, that's a very, like, Black Mirror, like, type thing to, like, put, like, literally, like, we already have bottled water. Now it's like, well, this is high-quality air. Like, that's ridiculous, you know? And so I just thought that this was, like, really interesting. And so something else that's funny that happened is that I saw the Miraculous writer on Twitter quote tweet a tweet, because I guess like Jeff Bezos or something, I don't know if like this is true, but like some like rich person said that like to get rid of pollution we should send all the garbage into space or something. And so it's funny because like that's the show predicted that, like they, you know, a while ago during our space trash program, like they did it, right? So it's just funny. Like I know that lots of like more science fiction, like superhero type shows like have a habit of doing that, like art imitates life, but also life imitates art type of thing. I just thought that that was kind of funny. So then obviously Marinette sees Mylene and Ivan, and they also have like this giant, like I can't remember what they called it. I think they called it an excavator, and so I'm guessing that that's what they're gonna use to like, you know, take down the trees. And so the mayor's just like, Officer Roger, please take care of them. And then they're like, but mayor, they're just kids. And I'm just like, bro, like what about the right to protest? Like what are the laws in like France about this? Because this entire episode is like the mayor abusing his power. And something that I realized that I think is very interesting that I didn't notice before, because I think that we cut a lot of slack to the dad, right? Like I think that generally when people talk about like the bourgeois family, they talk about Audrey being a bitch, which is like fair, right? Like she's awful. And then they talk about Chloe, and like Zoe is the one that gets the least amount of flack, obviously, because I think arguably she's the nicest. And then people are like, oh, but the dad is just kind of being manipulated by them too. Like that's the kind of narrative about it, right? But something, and I would say that that's fair, like they definitely do take advantage of him, but at the same time, like I feel like this shows like that it's a multi, you know, layered issue like with him. Is he manipulated by his daughter and his wife? Yes. And is he treated poorly by them? Yes. But at the same time, does he also have a habit of treating other people poorly too? Yes. And both of those things can be mutually true, because look at this scene, right? I feel like something interesting is that his Sabrina, like Chloe is to Sabrina, Roger is to him as a police officer. Like he basically put his like lapdog, if you want to call it that, like in power to do his bidding. And so I find that very interesting. And this is Sabrina's dad. So it's a nice little parallel that he's basically like the Chloe of the city and Sabrina's dad is the Sabrina of the city, right? If that makes sense. And so I never noticed that before, but I think that really comes through in this particular episode. And that's a little distressing when you think about it. Like he is basically what like Chloe would grow into in a way. So he's not like scot-free either, you know what I mean? I don't have too much to say about this scene. I just really like how Mylene really like stands up to him here. Like, no, that's what they want you to think, right? Like, and she, like, he's literally like, oh, okay, like, geez, right? Roger, your job isn't to have a chit chat with the troublemakers. It's to keep order. Come on, kids, be smart, right? And so I feel like he's basically saying, you know, like, hey, like, he's not gonna budge, you know, I don't really have to do this, but at the same time, like, he's equally as complicit. And I feel like what is interesting about this scene is that we get a really interesting commentary about, like, the police and, like, the corrupt system that is the police. And what I mean by that is that you have this dialogue, and so that's, like, very, you know, very mature. Mylene and Ivan basically get arrested, and what I'm wondering is if they weren't arrested for protesting, but were arrested because they were skipping school, because most places have, like, you're free to, like, protest, right? You know, but what some countries have is, like, not necessarily called curfew, but basically laws, especially, like, more so I've heard, like, European countries, maybe compared to, like, I'm not entirely sure about the US and everything, but, like, that there's, like, oh, if you're, you know, caught, like, basically skipping school, they can arrest you and bring you back to school, like, that's the whole thing, right? And so I wonder if that was, like, the idea with this, is that, oh, well, we can't get them for protesting, but they are kids, so we can get them for, like, not being in school when they're supposed supposed to. So yeah, just some food for thought, but this is what I mean. And so then, Tiki, what should I do? Should I transform? And I'm like, imagine Ladybug just jumping on the police car and saying, like, this is a violation of their civil rights, right? And then Tiki says, I don't know, Marinette. Normally, the police take the bad guys, but Mylene and Ivan are good, right? And so I feel like that there's a very interesting, like, commentary there about how we're taught, like, oh, you know, like, the police catch criminals and stuff. And so a lot of us think, like, oh, you know, like, that's the stuff that the police does. But then when you actually see them, like, going against that, then it's like, oh, but they're not supposed to do that. Why does that happen? Right? It's a very interesting, like, commentary right there. And I think that that's, like, really, really good. And again, a very mature, like, thing. Like, they don't go so into it, but, like, they go into it enough that I personally noticed it, and I think that that's, like, very cool of them, I guess. It's very cool for them to sort of address that sometimes the police are not always, like, acting, you know, in the morally right, in the ethical right, or even in the legal right, because the teacher's like, this is, like, we're gonna have a talk today about civil liberties, and so this didn't even seem legal as well, and so it kind of, like, goes into that corruption a little bit, makes you think, maybe we'll make some people think. Yeah, and so then basically Marinette explains what happened, and her teacher's like, what? They must have protested against the municipal plan for the revitalization, and so they're talking about, like, the park and stuff, right? What does revitalization mean? I thought that was pretty funny. It says the oxygen project will be a a breeze of fresh air, breath of fresh air, anyway, for Paris, a breeze of fresh air. It's kind of strange that, Mylene, did I say breeze? Yeah, they said breeze, but I think breath of fresh air makes more sense. Anyway, it's kind of strange that Mylene and Ivan are against that, and I think that that's really interesting as well, just because I think that a good message of this episode, too, is that, like, I feel like that, and Marinette says this later, and it's actually pretty deep, but we are kind of tricked by, like, surface level, like, on principle or on the surface, seems like a good idea, right? Like, oh, it's gonna be a breath of fresh air, isn't that great? Like, we are tricked a lot, like Marinette says, by, like, pretty pictures and, you know, like, I guess, like, pretty words, if you want to call it that, right? And so even, like, looking at that news article, they're like, oh, what's wrong with that, right? Because you could even say that the news, right, is also kind of in cahoots and wants the project to, like, go forward as well, and so that's an interesting angle, too, that the news doesn't tell the whole story. So a lot of the things we see on surface level seem like good ideas, on surface level seem like good plans, but are they really when you take a closer look? And so I feel like that's also what this episode's encouraging, and I'm like, damn, the themes, like, we're really getting into something, you know what I mean? Like, this is getting, like, very mature and critical thinking type themes, and I really like that. And so she's like, Officer Roger made a big mistake, and this had such, like, you know, like, in my off time, I didn't tell you guys this, but you know what, I'm not being a teacher, I'm a lawyer, you know, get him on the phone. Like, I think that was hilarious. But anyway, and so he's like, oh, is there a problem with Sabrina? Because obviously, like, Sabrina's in the class, right? And this reminded me that, like, that's her dad, and so the parallels between her role to Chloe and his role to the mayor, like, oh, chef's kiss, like, it made so much sense. No, your daughter is fine, but we have a problem with Ivan and Mylene. They were not doing anything wrong, right? Okay, so that sentence is a little bit confusing. I think she's saying, they weren't doing anything wrong, right? Right, so that's basically what she's trying to say. Little bit of confusion. Look, it's complicated. How is it complicated, sir? Okay, you've been bought off. Listen, you know what I mean? That's not very complicated, but anyway. And then he's like, bro, I'm just taking orders. And she's like, my order is you bring them back to, again, the park. I'm not even going to make an attempt. I will pick them up. And I love this. Okay, let's go, class. Today's lesson will be about civic education, right? And so that's what I'm saying, is that, like, this must be, like, you know what I mean? They must be acting within their, like, rights, right? And so I feel like that this is just really, really cool with practical and real experience. And I'm just like, oh, I love this. This was just so cool. And I love Alia because she's just like, bro, I have no content. Like, there's no content for the lady blog. And so she's just becoming, like, her own kind of vlogger at this point. And she's like, hey, there's no, you know, there's no super villain stuff going on, but hey, like, wanna come with me as we see my teacher yell at some man? You know, it's, I thought that was so great. I've never seen, or we've never seen, our teacher so angry, so prepare yourself for confusion. Because they, I guess, don't realize, like, what's wrong yet, right? And so they're just like, oh, yeah, like, we're just as confused. Like, our teacher's pissed. Why is she pissed? And so, yeah, I think that's interesting. That would be a very interesting angle for Alia, is if she, like kind of stops being, like, I guess, lady blog focused and becomes more, like, Alia focused. I don't know. Yeah, so again, he's, like, intimidating him. It's like, oh, you know, who pays your salary? You do. I mean Paris City Hall, right? So that's a distinct kind of difference. It's like the government pays his salary, but you are not the government, sir. You're just an elected official, okay? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can unelect you and you won't have any power anymore. So I felt like that, again, was very interesting. So obey me and take those troublemakers home now. Roger, don't do that. Whose orders do I have to follow? And so I thought that was, like, you know what I mean? He's just so, like, torn to, see, I can't revitalize in peace. They're boycotting my ceremony. That's because your project is unethical and anti-ecological. So she's basically saying, yeah, we're boycotting because y'all's plan is bad, you know? Like, bad for the environment and everything. Nonsense, just watch. And so now we have propaganda brought to you by Gabriel Agress. And is that the symbol, like, for the brand or the company that Kagami's mom works with or something, right? And so that's kind of weird, you know, because, like, yeah, obviously they're friends and their kids are friends and everything, but isn't that kind of strange? I don't know. Like, I feel like that there's something about that, and we've had all these theories that maybe, like, Kagami's mom, like, knows something about the Miraculouses and knows that Gabriel's trying to find them, or, like, they used to have a Miraculous in the family. Like, I've made a theory on that before, and so I wonder why they're working together. Like, it seems kind of suspicious. Could she be blackmailing him with something? Just because, like, I don't know, it's not that out of the question. But, like, why would Gabriel do this? Like, did he do this just to, like, is he really getting that desperate that he created a whole fake campaign that would surely get him, like, bad PR just to akumatize someone, right? Like, you know what I mean? And Gabriel is not, like, in this industry at all. Like, he's a fashion designer, right? So it just seems very strange for Kagami's mom to, like, coerce him into this, you know? And even for Kagami's mom, like, I guess they're kind of, like, you know, they have cars, I think. I think that the car brand is supposed to be, like, Kagami's mom's company and stuff, right? So maybe it's, like, more technological, but I don't know. This just seems weird. Like, this seems set up, is what I'm saying. And so I wonder, like, could she have, like, you know, done this with him on purpose? Like, I don't even know. But this is just suspicious to me. And so anyway, then we have propaganda. And so, yeah, joined the biggest investors in Paris, right? And so I guess that you could say that, Gabriel and Kagami's mom are just investors. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, this just seems so out of character for them, too. And so I just feel like that it's a setup. Like, I feel like that they kind of did this on purpose, right? That it's going, well, I guess, okay, so I guess Kagami's mom, like, their company's the manufacturer, whereas Gabriel is, like, the seller, you know what I mean? But, like, still, so they're gonna sell air in a single package, is basically, and then we have Adrien, and I thought that this was, like, so, like, in the moment of my reaction, I was like, Adrien, no, right? But you see that he's, like, actually very, insulted by this, and I think that he probably isn't as trusting of his father anymore, which is very interesting. And what we need to keep in mind as well is that this is one of the earlier episodes. Like, this is around, like, episode 10 and 11. Right? And so I think that the episode preceding this is the Gabriel Agress episode, which we don't really know anything about, because I think this one's 10, if I'm not wrong. And so basically you have, like, you know, whatever happens in Gabriel Agress, then you have this episode, and then you have Guilt Trip, where Nino is like, yeah, I can't help my best friend stand up for, like, to his father, right? And so you have to wonder, like, what happened in that episode, and is Adrien becoming less trustworthy of his father, like, as we continue to progress throughout the series, because it does definitely kind of seem that way. And Adrien is also being for sure a little bit more, you know, rebellious, little bit of rebellion coursing through him, but that's because I think he's starting to realize that his father does not have his best interest at heart, because I think the reason why he listened to his father before is because his attitude was, well, my father's just protective of me, you know, my father's just this of me, my father's just that. But now he's kind of realizing, no, my father's using me actually. And that's a very different, you know what I mean? Like, that's very different. And so I feel like that part of Adrien's inevitable breakdown is going to be like, you know, Ladybug doesn't trust me because of all of the stuff that happened in like Rocketeer and stuff that we've already seen. You know, like my best friend thinks I'm annoying as Cat Noir. My father is manipulating me all the time. Like my father is literally lying to me all the time. So it may even just not even be like including like the stuff with Nino, right? Because I had this theory like he's gonna be very sad because nobody accepts like the true him. Not his father, not Kagami, and then possibly he thinks that Ladybug doesn't, right? Like that was my whole theory. But when you think about this, isn't it more about lies? Like maybe what's going to cause Adrien a mental breakdown is that he's really sick of being lied to. Like he's been quote unquote lied to by Ladybug. Again, the situation's a bit more complicated than that, but obviously, like, he thinks that she's been keeping stuff from him on purpose, or changing the rules on purpose, you know, like, maybe to spite him, I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, he's, like, they're going to have a fight about it. I don't know what the outcome's gonna be, but I think that he finds her a bit, less trustworthy right now, and then it's gonna be like, yeah, I can't trust Ladybug, and I also can't trust my own dad, and so who do I really have in my life that I can trust? I can't even trust Nino, right, because he thinks that Cat Noir's annoying, and he also, like, spilled the beans at the first, like, confrontation, you know what I mean? Like, he spilled the beans that him and Alia were superheroes, even though, like, it's probably fine, but he also kind of shouldn't have, right? And so it's gonna be like, who can I trust in this life, you know? I can't trust anyone. I can't trust shit, right? And so I feel like that maybe that's gonna play a part later, because it's really about like manipulation with Gabriel, I think, and I think that's what Adrien's realizing. Oxygen, inhale your life, and then we just, and I'm like, oh, and like Marianne's just like, oh, like damn, like what a beautiful commercial, right? And then what I mean is, what is gorgeous thing that the advantage of saving the planet, yes, and so she's basically like, yeah, like, you know, not you, like, you know, saving the planet is great. And look at Adrien though, it's so, I think that this is so interesting because he looks so distressed by this. He's like, my dad told me it was an ad for new perfume. So he's starting to realize that his dad's a fucking liar, and I feel like that's definitely going to come back up in the future for sure. And so again, you see that Nino and Rose are kind of like, you know, taken in by those pretty pictures, I guess you can call it, right? And so then Mylene basically goes on to say, you are being tricked by the beautiful pictures. Presented like this, the Oxygen project looks amazing. But when we look closely, it is not sustainable. The truth is, they will chop down our best natural filters, trees. And the other thing is, like, did they not, like, let the residents around this area know about this construction? Because this is, like, an eyesore. You know what I mean? Like, this is gonna bring the market value of these houses, like, way down. You know what I mean? Have this giant thing in the middle of, like, what was otherwise a park. And so, yeah, I wonder, like, was nobody consulted about this? Because I feel like people would have definitely complained that, like, you know, we live in this area. Because Marinette lives across the street. We live in this area, and you put this fucking eyesore by our house. Like, I feel like somebody would definitely, you know what I mean? Where's the, like, the homeowners association for the city block? And we'll change them for artificial filters like that tower, and then they will make us pay for it. Yeah, so that's the biggest thing, right? Is they're literally gonna bottle up air and make you buy it. Mr. Mayor, instead of destroying all these trees, wouldn't it be better to build more parks? And I'm like, yes, thanks. It's just that. And then Chloe starts like, oh, who cares about those ugly trees? When you could buy that beautiful bottle that was created by Adrien's dad, Gabriel Agreste, with fresh air. So this is interesting too, because this episode, I'm pretty sure it's 10. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. The correct episode number will be in the title of this video. I'm sorry. Anyway, and so isn't this after the episode where Chloe was like, nah, fuck you, Adrien, like, we're not friends anymore? Like, wasn't that in episode 8? Because that was in Queen Banana, right? And so then you have the Gabriel episode, and then you have this episode. So why is Chloe acting all buddy-buddy for a second? I guess maybe it's just to defend her dad and, like, to shit on someone else. It's just like, I'll defend Adrien if it means I can shit on Mylene. That's how I feel like that this really is, which is, again, so sucky. And, like, look, like, Adrien is so ashamed. He's like, I've manipulated the public's opinion, and he feels so bad. And I think that's very compelling, like, for Adrien's character and his story. Like, He doesn't say that much this episode, but at the same time he does. Like, his facial expressions tell us so much. And I think that he's gotten, like, a very good chunk of focus this episode. Like, even though that this is a Mylene episode, compared to previous episodes, like, the Adrien character arc is definitely, like, strolling along. And I think that Nino realizes this, too. And so that could be where, like, I can't help my best friend stand up to his father thing definitely probably comes from. And so then they go on to say, but we'll use the trees to build the tower, blah, 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 blah. But then Marinette steps in, and see, this kind of plays in with my thing about thinking that Adrien may be falling for Marinette, because even though they haven't had that many interactions, like, kind of one-on-one, I feel like that what he's seen of her this season is her really standing up for other people, and how confident and, like, you know, assertive that she has really become, right? Because we see that in Guilt Trip, and we see that with Zoe, and we see that with Queen Banana. Like, we see that basically since Mr. Pigeon, like, since the episode where the umbrella closes on them, we don't have episode 5. Episode 6, they didn't interact, like, as Marinette and Adrien. So episode 7... right, so after the umbrella closes on them, we haven't seen episode 5 because that's side comedian, so who the fuck knows what's going on. So episode 7, we have her standing up for Zoe, and her telling Zoe that Zoe should, like, you know, be herself, and that they will accept her if she is herself. Then in Queen Banana, we have her standing up to Chloe, which Adrien approves of, right? And then we have episode 9, which is, like, the mystery. Then we have this episode where she's standing up for Mylene. We have episode 11 where she gets over her, like, you know, stuttering with Adrien to focus on, like, helping and saving Julika, right? In that scene where they both go down to the boiler room to, like, look for her and everything. And so progressively, like, even though we're missing some episodes, we see that Adrien is seeing a very assertive, confident, ladybug-like Marinette. And so if my theory is right, which I'm gonna make it soon, I swear. Probably next week, because there's no episode airing next week, so that would be, you know, that would be a good time to make one. And so, yeah, I'm going to make a theory about it, but I think that the possibility that Cat Noir could fall out of love with Ladybug because of all the drama going on between them, but then sort of turning and seeing that Marinette was, like, you know, the perfect girl all along, like, no secrets, never, you know, lied to him, any of that stuff, like, never did any of the things that Ladybug did, but both likes him and is also, like, Ladybug-ish, like, in terms of her confidence. And then, obviously, if y'all watch my Adrien reveal theory, you'll know what happens, like, you know, going from there and everything. But I think that's very interesting, because I thought, like, when I made that theory, like, they haven't had that many interactions, but he could still start to feel something for her, right? But now I'm sort of looking back on it, and it's almost like they haven't had many interactions, like, talking to each other, but they have had interactions in each other's presence that have changed the perception of how they see one another, or at least how Marinette is seen by Adrien. And so I feel like that, you know, it could just be like, oh, I didn't realize that the girl for me was here all along, and that would make a lot of sense. And then we see Marinette be a little sneaky, and so she says, Mayor Bourgeois, I think Mylene and Ivan misunderstood your idea, right? And so he's kind of looking at Marinette like he's just like, what are you talking about, Marinette? We didn't misunderstand shit, but they catch on in a minute. What you want to do is remove the trees, which are free, and a natural air filter, and I love this, look at her face, and replace them with a tower that will absorb the polluted air so you can clean the air and then sell it in plastic bottles, which the same bottles that will become garbage and end up polluting the oceans, right? And, like, look at her face, and he's like, yes, exactly, and, like, look at the media. The media's like, you know what I mean? And so look at Marinette, she's so happy with herself, she's like, yeah, I got him, right? And look at Adrien, too, in the back, anyway. And so he's just like, no, that's not it, like, it's not that simple, right? And, like, everyone's fucking pissed. Like, look at Marinette, like, she's like, right? And then Adrien has his, like, angry eyebrows on this entire episode, which, again, I think is great for his character, right? Because Gabriel sees him, like, you know, be, like, angry and, like, kind of disobedient, right? And so I feel like that's super fascinating. The mayor's solution to fight against pollution is mistaken. Just like the other miraculous solutions that are proposed to solve ecological problems, but the problem is that there's not just one solution to resolve everything. So I think what she's basically saying is, like, one solution is too good to be true. Like, this seems like, oh, like, you know, how far has science come? Amazing, brilliant, but, like, that is sort of, like, not the case, right? Like, it's kind of, like, it's basically, like, not lying per se, because, yes, it would technically filter the air, but it would also cause pollution too. There's not like one grand, like, magical solution, I think is basically like her point, right? That's why we need small solutions to take care of the problem at the same time. And obviously, that is said later in the episode, so that's foreshadowing to Multi-Mouse and what Multi-Mouse can do as well, which I thought was really cool. But I just kind of like the message, you know? Like, if anybody tries to present you one magical solution to all of your problems, that's not really how life works. Like, it's about kind of finding a bunch of small solutions to put towards solving your problems. That's nice of you and Ivan to commit to this, but why didn't you talk about it with the class? Everyone could have come with you. And so then they're like, we tried, Marinette, and I'm just like, oh man, we've been protesting against the oxygen project for at least 6 months, and I'm just like, damn. And so yeah, like, that's just so true too. Is like, you know, everyone's like, well, why didn't you tell us about that before? And like, the truth is, like, we tried, sis. And so there's a lot of like very real world like messages in this episode, especially about, like, you know, about the environment and about, you know, what we can do better and stuff. Like, I feel like that with a lot of like, there's been a lot of like climate change stuff coming out recently, and climate change stuff is coming out all the time, right? But like even more so recently. And you see, I think a lot of people be like, well, why didn't they tell us this before, you know? Like, but like they've been trying to tell you for like, I mean, I'm only 21, right? But as far as I can remember, like the past 10 years I've heard about like, oh, the temperatures are rising, oh, you know, this is melting and this is gonna cause flooding. Like, it's only when the flooding has like actually started to happen that people are like, you know, like, no, it's not a surprise, like, you know, like, we've tried already. And so I think that that's, like, very, like, real. That's a very raw and real message, right? And so then Marinette says she's sorry, and she's like, everyone was so busy doing, actually, I don't even know what we were doing, right? It wasn't cool. That's really convincing, but I need to launch my project. So the mayor's just like, yeah, I'm gonna chainsaw this tree now. Thanks for your little, like, you know, heart to heart with each other, but like, that's none of my business, sis. And so I really like this. And so, right again, like, think about what the characters are seeing right now. Mylene goes to stop the tree getting cut down, and Marinette's the first person that stands with her, right? And so I feel like that's really, like, you know, again, foreshadowing towards, like, how Adrien's perception of her is definitely gonna change. And again, not everything is about Adrien and Marinette, right? Like, this is just good for Marinette's character, like, alone, right? Like, I don't want people to think that the only reason I'm talking about Marinette's behavior is in relation to her love interest, like, is in relation to Adrien. However, like, we have been talking about, like, how Adrien's character arc is gonna go, and I think that it is kind of dependent, like, on Marinette's actions, if I'm right in the sense that he will fall out of love with Ladybug and then basically, like, you know, fall for Marinette. And so really I'm talking about that in that sort of context, like in the context of everyone else around me isn't trustworthy except for this one person that I know will be there for me, right? In Marinette, like, Marinette is there for everyone, right? So I feel like that's basically what I'm saying, right? Like, Marinette's actions are important also for herself, you know? And so, yeah, I just want to make that clear, but since we are kind of talking about, like, theories and stuff, I'm basically talking about it in relation to the theory. But obviously, like, for Marinette, this is good too, but she's kind of always been like that, though, not from the very beginning, but, like, you know, you're our everyday superhero, Marinette. Like, there's a reason why Adrien had, you know, said that to her in the past, right? Because she does stand up for everyone. But I think for Marinette's character, it's really nice to see her definitely become more, I guess, Ladybug-esque and more assertive in the school situations as well. And so I think that it's really nice to see her, you know, be strong for all her friends. It's just really cool. And so then all the parents and, like, the siblings are basically going to the park. Like, you have Alia's sister, you have Marinette's parents, and so it kind of also shows, like, when, you know, there's a ripple effect with your actions. If you stand up for something, right, like, other people in your life will follow, which I think is a good message too. And so then, I love this, I don't pay you to think, Roger, just obey, right? And I'm just like, what? And, like, look at Tom. Tom is ready to, like, smack a bitch, like, with the bread making thing, and I think that that's great. And, like, look at them. They're just so mad. I love it. I love love this scene so much. And so then we have Adrien's defiance, and I'm like, yeah, let's go, right? I'm sorry, Mayor Bourgeois, but we can't let this happen. And so then he holds on to Marinette's hand, which again, like, I think, like, considering that he could have, like, you know, he could have held hands with, like, Nino and protected a tree or something, that this was definitely important. And then you see, like, oh, well, you know, all the Adrien stands, right? The Adrien stands probably supported the project because Adrien was advertising it, but now that Adrien is speaking out against it, he's using his influence to do good, and I love that for us, right? If Adrien wants to save the trees, let's save the trees. It can really show, like, how your impact is really helpful. And what's funny about this, like, you know what I mean, your influence as a quote-unquote influencer can be, you know, very impactful on your audience. But what's funny is that there's someone back here wearing a Cat Noir shirt, and I wonder if that's supposed to be some sort of, like, symbolism or something, because these are Adrien fans, but this person likes Cat Noir, and so I'm like a little bit of, you know what I mean? It reminds me of those shots where you have Marinette and Cat Noir, or I guess Ladybug and Cat Noir doing the pound it, and then there's this giant Adrien poster in the background. Like, I feel like that it's kind of like that. It's like, oh yeah, like, that's just really cool. So yeah, the mayor's being bombarded, and I love this because Marinette's just like, she's just lost all semblance of, like, being angry. You know what I mean? She's just like, Adrien is holding hands with me, which I think is fine, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is, like, you know, this is groundbreaking. This is nuts. And, like, she's also never seen Adrien like this before, right? So think about this too. Not just for Adrien seeing Marinette in a new way, but think about how Marinette is seeing Adrien. She's seeing him, like, pretty fucking pissed. Like, she's seeing him in a Cat Noir type way and really liking that. So I think that as much as the season is about growing as individuals, which Marinette and Adrien are doing, it's also about, like, falling in love with the other half of the love square. At least I think so, right? And so when you think about it, like, what's going on here? Adrien's acting like Cat Noir, yet Marinette is like she's mesmerized. There we go. She's, like, mesmerized by him acting as Cat Noir. Like, isn't that important? Isn't that really interesting? And so then the news lady says, Mayor, it looks like the population is actually against the project, right? Including Adrien and Gress, even though his father's involved with it. Like, oh, the news lady just exposed him. Like, Adrien's been caught in 4K. And I was just like, oh my god. And so, and look at him though. He's just like, what? Like, Adrien? Like, so he's looking at this. I wonder if he notices Marinette, and if that'll be important somehow in the future. He's just like, who's this girl corrupting my son? You know? Like, I feel like that may be, something that happens later on, but anyway. And so then he gets a call from the mayor, obviously, and he's like, I need help, and so obviously he doesn't help him, because he wants him to get so upset that he's akumatized. Because here's the thing about being akumatized, is the only reason people are akumatized is because they think that there is no other way to solve their problems, right? Like, there's no other hope, there's no other way. And so the reason why Andre hasn't been akumatized yet is because he doesn't feel hopeless. It's not just negative emotion, you have to feel like there is no other way, no other solution, absolutely nothing you can do. So him calling Gabriel is like, oh, well, I haven't been akumatized yet because there's still something I can do. I'll just call Gabriel. He'll fix it. And then Gabriel's like, LOL, that's funny. Anyway. And so, yeah, so Gabriel's just like, nah, because he wants him to feel hopeless enough to get akumatized, which I think is just super cool. When we fight for a good cause, we always find a solution. And that's interesting because that's a very Marinette thing to say. Like, Ladybug says that, you know, like, there's, even when we, you know, go through problems, we'll find a solution. Like, I think in Time Tagger, adult Marinette says that, and even, like, you know, current timeline Marinette says that, right? And so I feel like that's interesting. I always like when the villain parrots back, like, the protagonist's words, but, like, with evil intentions, because he thinks that the good cause, like, for Gabriel, is bringing back his dead wife, right? So there's, like, an added, you know, like, not necessarily a metaphor, but, like, there's an allusion to something else, right, within that sentence. It's like he's not actually talking about the trees or the oxygen project. He's saying that, like, when we fight for a good cause, I'm fighting for my wife, and my solution today is going to be to attempt to akumatize you. That's basically what he's saying. Yeah, so honestly, I don't know how I feel about this Senti-monster. It's fucking ugly. Like, I don't really have anything else to say about him. Like, it's just, I'm just like, why? But I guess it does match his stuff, and so I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, I feel like that no effort was put into this design, unfortunately. But, like, at the same time, it is a leech, right? So it's like, how much can you really do? Like, you know, and so I'll allow it, I guess, is basically what I'm trying to say. So he basically creates like a lot of like mini me's. I do wonder if this whole thing is like a metaphor for how propaganda can corrupt people, like otherwise, like people that would otherwise disagree with it, because like, you know, obviously you have the little mayor literally like going in their ear canal and telling them what to think. Like there's definitely a metaphor. And Ivan sacrifices himself for Mylene, which is great because obviously Mylene needs the miraculous. And so I just also thought that that was sweet too, you know, for his character as well, and the hero that we will see him be one day. So then we get a little fight with Cat Noir right here. He's obviously like, he's surrounded, and then there's also like the people chasing him as well. And Marinette's just trying to mind her business and, you know, transform, and Mylene catches her, which I thought was like peak comedy. Like I thought that that was great. And I love all the like near catches this season, because that's happened a couple times where somebody, like Marinette's just trying to transform and like somebody's like, da, 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 right? And so I love this too, because Mylene says that they should both hide in the sewer. And like that becomes something like, well, Marinette already does that, like she's done that in past seasons, but after Otagami, like that becomes very important for like her and Alia to meet up secretly in the sewer and stuff. And so I thought that that was like really great. And I love this because Marinette's like, I'm scared of sewers, right? Being scared is not something you should be embarrassed about, Marinette. And I love how Mylene just like motivates her. It's just so good. And she's like, I'm scared of the dark, of humidity, of germs, and even of mice, right? And again, irony, because she gets the mouse miraculous. We love a little bit of that. I was super scared of protesting in the morning, but I found the courage and was able to move on. And I'm like, Mylene, right? She is like, she's, you know, she's so great to be a hero and everything. And I think that that was just really, really sweet. And I really like that. I like this scene between them a lot. We have to escape and find a way to help the others. And so I think at this point, she realizes that Mylene should get a miraculous, because she seemed shocked at first, right? Like, oh, Mylene, like, really? Like, you're so cool, right? And then it's like, you know, and so I thought that was nice. If you get really scared, hold this in remembrance. So she gave her a little badge, and fear is a natural reflex, but we can overcome it. And I love, like, the sisterhood and the messages of this episode, but then Marinette kind of does something a little uncool, right? And so she's like, you know, she pretends that she's been caught out. And I thought that this was actually interesting too, because even though we've talked a lot about like, oh, you know, how Adrien sees Marinette, how Marinette sees Adrien as more Cat Noir and more Ladybug and da-da-da-da-da. Well, this is like a very, like, I feel a very Adrien or Cat Noir thing to do, but yet Marinette does it, you know? Like, and I think that that's kind of interesting too, is that not only are they seeing each other in a new light, but they're also adopting mannerisms or like plans from each other as well. And so Ladybug meets up with Cat Noir. She gets the ice skate from her lucky charm, and she's like, oh, okay, job done. You know, we got some Akuma, we got some Senti-monster thing, we got the Amok is what I'm trying to say. I'm like, oh yeah, you make everything seem so easy, m'lady. And so here's the thing. I feel like that this is supposed to be, again, a reference to what we had said before, right? It's like, you know, the easiest solutions, the solutions that seem too easy are too good to be true. That seem too perfect, like that tower, are too good to be true. See, so she starts to go miraculous. She's about to like, whee! Right? But then, you know, Adrien stops her. So anybody that's been saying that Cat Noir has been like useless, right? Like obviously, like he was definitely necessary because Ladybug acted a little bit too brashly, I guess you could say. The Akumas and Amuks must have been multiplied when the clones were created. And I'm like, well, that's terrifying. Thank you for that. Capturing one of them doesn't fix the problem. And so I love this, the metaphor. There are millions of them. What is the miraculous solution then, m'lady, right? And the problem is that we don't have only a miraculous solution. So basically repeating what Mylene had said. We need a lot of small solutions to deal with the problem at the same time. And I'm like, I love that. I love how she learns from her friends. We need a lot of us working together. Let's go get the squad. And I love this. And I know who can help us. Distract them. And he's like, oh, why is it always me? But see, in this episode, he says that playfully. Like, he seems kind of upset, but he says it with a more playful tone. But this playful tone goes away as soon as, like, the other episodes come out. Like Senti-Bubbler, when again, like, he was kind of, like, used as a distraction, right? And so here's he's like, you know, like, why is it always me, Ladybug? Like, you know, but then in the future, he's like, Ladybug, like, why is it always me? Like, he's actually mad. And so Mylene obviously feels really bad, right? She says, don't waste your time, Ladybug. This is all my fault. I wanted to save the trees, and because of me, now everyone wants to tear them down. If I hadn't gotten involved, none of this would have happened. You are mistaken. You are not the problem. You are the solution. And I love this. I love this pep talk. You have the best ideas. And so she tries to give her the miraculous. And again, I like the subversion, like basically like all the quote unquote transformation sequences this episode, right? Like her miraculous Ladybug, and then also like her standard, like take the miraculous out, like got interrupted, which I think is cool. No, Ladybug, I can't be a superheroine. I'm afraid of everything. Look, I have a badge for my fear of water, bees. I even need a necklace to help with my fear of badges. And so then she says, do you realize how many fears you managed to overcome? And I thought that was great. Like, it's not that you had the fears, it's that you were brave enough to overcome the fears, right? The objects that help you overcome your fears are like the miraculous, and you fight every day to protect a cause without anyone noticing. It's just like having a secret identity. In reality, you are already a superheroine. And I was like, oh, that was so nice. Like, I really like how it's just like they're uplifting each other. You just need one last charm, like one last badge, you know? And I was like, yeah, like that was so cool. And I like how this is changed up too. She's like, I'm proud to give you the mouse miraculous, and that was just great. And I thought that this was nice. And I like how it changes like camouflage mode to kind of match her necklace and her like normal outfit, I guess, or her civilian outfit, I guess I should say. And then the mouse like scares her, which is not very nice. True bravery is not the absence of fear. It is to continue even with fear. And I love that message. I think that's so true. I really like her transformation. I love how her outfit kind of like differs in her own style compared to like Marinette. What I think is really cool is we've seen like Marinette basically have a mouse miraculous outfit, and now we see Mylene's mouse miraculous outfit, but because the holder's idea of what a superhero is impacts like how their outfit will look, like they're different. And I really, really like that. Like I like the hood with the little mouse ears. You can that's such good merch too. Like they should definitely do that. I think that's so cool. And I don't know, I just really like her costume, and I like the pink hair. I just think that it's really great, and so I really, really like it. I think that this was such like a nice scene. And so then she basically like gives her the lucky charm and explains to her like, this is the plan, this is what you're gonna do. And we see like basically they're going to use this like wind thingy to like propel all the little Mylenes upwards. We need a lot of people dealing with the problem at the same time. It's that's what I always say about the fight for the environment. I told you have great ideas, right? Because she learned that from her, but she doesn't know that, because obviously she doesn't know that Marinette was listening. And I love this too. I love the little part of the mask that looks like the little nose. Like, that's so cute. It's the only way to spread your powers all over Paris, right? It's normal to be afraid. And I'm just like, this is like near death too. You know what I mean? Like, if she falls in there, like she would get cut up by the thingies. Not to be too dark or anything, but this is like legitimately scary, right? I can overcome fear and keep going. I know. And so I really like this. I'm not afraid, I can do this. And so again, this mimics the opening scene, and I thought that that was so cool. So we see her jump, right? Because again, very scary. And then basically all of the little Mylenes appear. Here's what I'm wondering. How does this work? Like, is Mylene's consciousness now like split up into a bunch of little Mylenes? Do all these little Mylenes have their own consciousness? Like, how does this? I don't know. And I don't know if I don't know how I can know, right? And so yeah, so they basically all fight like the little versions of the mayor inside of everyone's brain, which I think is cool, and it's really nice to like see her fight and everything. But like, that's what I'm saying is like they are all talking to each other. They're like, oh, why are we so small? What am I doing here? Who are you? So they all seem to have their own individual consciousness. They're not like a hive mind. So that's kind of scary, right? Because like they're all tiny Senti-monsters, and so they're kind of like all tiny living beings, right? And so that's kind of fucked up, right? And so I wonder if the same is true for Mylene, or if it is more like, a hive mind sort of scenario where they're all kind of acting on like some sort of pattern that Mylene has set for them. And so I don't know. I don't even know. I think if we think too hard about this, we'll get into like ethical issues. Yeah, so this is legitimately scary because Cat Noir, like, grabs Ladybug because he too is possessed, right? Which is interesting because I guess, like, Hawkmoth's idea was like, okay, well, Cat Noir has been controlled, so let's pretend that he's acting normal to get Ladybug's Miraculous, and then I'll already have Cat Noir's. Like, that was basically his plan right there, it seems like. But then Mylene is able to save Adrien too, and I feel like that what's interesting about that is I wonder if that could be kind of like, not necessarily foreshadowing, but more like responsible for the trust issues they're having, because not only does Marinette still think about Cat Blanc, but now, like, Cat Noir is getting controlled out here too, so it's like nobody's safe, right? So I sort of wonder if that could be like a thing in the future, right? Like, it's not just about like, oh, you know, you got akumatized in a different timeline. It's also like, you know, he got controlled this time as well, so like, it's kind of hard to like trust him and everything, right? I do like the like, hey, wait, guys, like, let's do a group pose. Like, I just thought that was really, really cute. And I love how, like, she basically is able to have everyone utilize their abilities. Like, I thought this was cool. So Pegasus is doing the teleport, and then Vespera is doing, like, the freeze, obviously. I guess I shouldn't call it freeze, but, like, the sting that basically, like, immobilizes them. And then we see Mylene fighting some more again, and obviously, then we continue with the Akumas, like, rising up, and this is where Kagami comes in, because she basically blows them all to a common direction, so Ladybug can basically, like, you know, get them all at the same time, which I thought was super, super cool. And I really love the giant shell that Nino used around. It was just nice. It was nice to see everyone utilize their own individual abilities, but I don't think that Cat Noir did anything this episode. He didn't have to cataclysm anything, which is kind of fascinating, right? Because maybe that's why he feels like he's kind of been getting replaced, especially in future episodes like Otagami, right? But I think that Otagami reinforces that Cat Noir was still necessary, even though he didn't think that he was, because they did have to cataclysm something at the end of the day. And so I think that where Cat Noir helped this episode was to help Ladybug realize that they weren't actually finished yet. That's like, he was fully necessary for that. And so I find that very, I don't know, I find that interesting, because something that I had said before was that no matter what goes on in an episode, Cat Noir always has to use Cataclysm. That's something I said earlier when we were kind of talking about, like, people were like, oh, you see, like, Cat Noir's getting replaced, right? Because, like, even in Mr. Pigeon, where Adrien is, like, not there, Plag is still there, and Plag is integral for the plan. And so at first I was like, well, he always has to, like, he's always integral to the plan. He's not getting replaced. But in this case, he wasn't, kind of. Like, he wasn't in the Cataclysm way, but I would argue he was still, like, in every other way as Ladybug's partner necessary. Just because he didn't have to use Cataclysm doesn't mean he wasn't important. He still, like, basically, like, helped Ladybug realize that they weren't actually finished yet, and helped her realize that, like, you know, like, that didn't work. Like, we're gonna have to think of something else. You know, like, if it wasn't for him, Ladybug would have done her, you know, Lucky Charm, and they would have been screwed, right? Or at least she would have had to, like, retransform, and, like, nobody has time for that, you know what I mean? Like, to get another Lucky Charm and everything. And so I feel like that, like, that's where Cat Noir was very important, in my opinion. And I really like the group pounded, and I also like how they all, like, jump down to the mayor to present him with the charm. And so at least this is, like, the end of the mayor, though. Like, at least we're, you know, we're not gonna see him get akumatized anymore, like, in theory, unless something happens to the charm. I'm still worried about one thing, Mayor. What is going to happen with the Oxygen Project? Oh, well, it will have to be examined by a committee of experts. And so, shouldn't y'all have done that in the first place? You know, like, maybe y'all should have done that at the very beginning, right? We're counting on you, sir, to do what's right. And so I really like how they all then, like, they all, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but they all, peace out together. And then, she gets her Miraculouses back from everyone. And I love how Kagami got to, like, fight again, too. It's been so long. Even for Pegasus, it's been long for him as well, but, like, I don't know, like, that was just really nice. You were super brave today, Mylene. You should be very proud. Bug out, and I thought that was great. And so, yeah, then, you know, Hawkmoth complains about the power of friendship. We don't need to go over that. Parisians, I heard the voices of our young people, and they are our future. And in the future, trees will continue to filter our air. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So that was nice. And so I love this because the chainsaw had to be operated by an adult who has read the instruction manual, but like he can't use it. So I feel like that there's a metaphor in that too, because like it's the kids that have to plant the trees. It's like the next generation as well. And so I thought that that was really nice. Congratulations, Mylene, you won this battle, right? And look at how like proud everyone is of her. I think that's really nice. We all won together, Marinette. And so again, Adrien sees Marinette being supportive. Marinette is supportive. Great stuff over here. How hard is it to plant a tree, right? And so they help him. I think that that's really nice. I'm glad we finally opened our eyes, even with you being so handsome in the commercial, right? And then Adrien's like, what, Marinette? Oh, nothing. I just wanted to say that it's great we opened our eyes to the complex problems that were hidden behind in the beautiful commercial. And so I think that that was like, I think that that's really funny as well, just because it's kind of like, that's pretty deep though, Marinette. You know, like even though she's kind of like stammering and stuff still and like kind of nervous around Adrien, like that's pretty fucking deep, you know? Like for her to be like, yeah, like, you know, there were complex problems behind like pretty lies, pretty, you know, pretty pictures to like reel you in, but like not true, right? And so I feel like that's like very fascinating, right? That's actually pretty deep and I really like that. And so maybe that's something else Adrien's wondering, or not even wondering, but realizing like Marinette's also, you know, Marinette's pretty deep, bro. That was a pretty deep thing to say, that there's complex, you know, problems behind like, you know, the pretty pictures that we see. We shouldn't believe everything that we see or read. We should always like do our own research and stuff. And so then Adrien comes home, seems to be pretty proud of himself until his dad is waiting for him. Adrien, you took a stand against me today. I didn't stand up against you, father. It was against a project that my friends proved was bad for Paris and the planet, right? And so Adrien's trying to reason with him. Adrien, go to your room. And so this is suspicious because in anime, when they do this, this is something that basically, if you can't see the character's eyes, they're lying. Like that's the idea with it, right? And so then he says, of course, father. And so something suspicious about this that people noticed is that he's fiddling with the ring. And so here's the thing about that though. I do think that Adrien is a Senti-monster. I made the theory. I think I made the theory before a lot of other people made the theory. Like, I think that I was definitely one of the first. Not the first. It didn't come from my brain. But, like, I was definitely one of the first people to actually make the theory. The theory has resurfaced recently, which is why I'm specifying that. So I definitely believe that he's a Senti-monster. But people are sort of saying, like, is this related to Adrien being a Senti-monster? Like the fact that Gabriel is playing with the ring and that, like, you know, then he just obeyed him, right? Like right away. I don't think so, and here's why. I don't know what the logistics of that would be, but I think that, like, Emily probably has, like, the object and not Gabriel, and something that we have to keep in mind, too, is, like, this is, like, his wedding ring, and the other half of the wedding ring is with Felix, which is kind of weird, and so, yeah, I just don't know, like, what the logistics would be around, like, if they both, because here was my idea that I sort of had. I think that Emily either has the object or they split it, like they split it into two. And it would make sense if they split it for one half each to be in their wedding rings, right? If that makes sense. But like, Felix took one of the wedding rings, so unless for Emily it was her brooch, if that makes sense, but for Gabriel it was his ring, that wouldn't make any sense because then Felix would be controlling Adrien. Like, I guess Felix is out of the range, but like still. On the other hand, you could also say that like, but this wasn't even Gabriel's wedding ring because Felix stole Gabriel's half. The other half, like, was with Emily, right? And so I feel like that, like, that's probably important, too, is that if, like, if the theory was correct and both halves were in one wedding ring, right? Like, Gabriel's wedding ring is gone, so only Emily's wedding ring is left, and that's what he's wearing. He's wearing Emily's ring to replace the one that Felix stole. So it doesn't make the most sense to me for this to be evidence of Senti-monster stuff. What I think it is evidence of, though, is that he finds Adrien's behavior suspicious. And I think that him playing with the ring isn't necessarily, like, you know, foreshadowing to the fact that he's controlling him as a Senti-monster, but may more so be, like, foreshadowing towards the fact that he is suspicious of Adrien's behavior and that Adrien is acting more disobedient than he probably remembers or even realized. And so this could be, like, a fidget for him, like, when somebody's untrustworthy. Okay, so this is the idea that I had. What if it's not that he's, controlling him and a Senti-monster and everything? Because I personally believe that the object for the Senti-monster stuff is in Emily's pin, and I won't go over, I want to make a video basically, counter-arguing people's, oh, I debunked the Senti-monster theory, because people say, oh, wouldn't Natalie do this? Wouldn't so-and-so do that? And I'm like, no, because that's not how it works, sis. People say, oh, but wouldn't Natalie sense that Cat Noir is a Senti-monster? But why? There's no evidence she can do that. And even, the other day, Thomas Astruck made a post, and in his, post, he actually had to make an amendment, because he's like, oh yeah, they can't sense the Senti-monsters, actually, they sense the Amuks. That's what I meant to say, right? So, no, Natalie wouldn't sense that Cat Noir is a Senti-monster, because the Amuk isn't with him, the Amuk is with Emily. There's no reason. Anyway, I don't want to get into it, but something that I was thinking about was that this is not Senti-monster related. The reason why he's twirling his ring is because he's thinking about Felix, and what I mean by that is that it's possible that he is thinking, oh, Felix is a troublemaker, right? He's a very disrespectful, rebellious, sneaky kid. And so what if he's playing with the ring because he's hey, his cousin was being a shithead, right? His cousin was pretty disrespectful. I wonder if that's happening to my Adrien, right? Is my Adrien being rebellious like Felix, right? Is my Adrien trying to go behind my back like Felix went behind my back and stole my ring? So I think that the ring twirl could either be something Gabriel does when he doesn't trust someone. It could be also referencing the fact that he's maybe suspicious that, Adrien's Cat Noir again, because that was something that happened in a previous season. Was that he thought, Adrien could be Cat Noir, so what if he's playing with the ring because he's realizing that, Adrien does exhibit Cat Noir behavior, he just hasn't been around to notice? Or, I think that it's more realistic that it could be about Felix, that he could be thinking, I'm thinking about that time when I was basically kind of tricked by my nephew, what if Adrien is basically, he's been poorly influenced by someone just like Felix, and so that's what it could be referring to. I know that's not a direct line, if that makes sense, but I think that it's direct enough. It makes sense to me anyway. It makes sense that he would be thinking about, yeah, my nephew is sneaky and all of this stuff, and I hope my Adrien's not being rebellious like that. He could be thinking about Felix's rebellion and then being well, I hope that Felix hasn't been a poor influence on my son. He could be thinking that he has lost control over Adrien, right? He has lost that control over him that he used to have, and that's why he's playing with the ring. There could be lots of reasons, but the anime eye thing does make me a little suspicious about the Senti-monster stuff. The only thing is, again, unless that's the object, and I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me, because that's Emily's wedding ring, and so that's where she put the akumatized object, but she also wasn't wearing that, right? Or could it be that, he doesn't even know? He doesn't even know that that's the object, or not akumatized object, that's the object with the amok. Could it be that he didn't even know that it was in her ring? I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It's just, there's some weird vibes going on with this, but I don't understand it. Maybe this is a totally different idea too. What if it's not even about Felix? What if it's about his mom? What if he's realizing, because, okay, so I think that it's pretty much implied that Emily somehow used the Peacock Miraculous and that's why she got sick. But here's my headcanon or theory about that. What if the reason why she got sick was because she did something she wasn't supposed to do? Something that Gabriel did not approve of, and she went behind his back and basically did it. So whether that was making Adrien the Senti-monster or not, whatever it was. So what if the reason why he's playing with his wedding ring is because he's oh, my wife lied to me and that's how she got in a coma. So what if it's like mother like son, and Adrien is just as sneaky and conniving as his mother, right? Because obviously he loves Emily very much, but clearly Emily also did something, right? And so I feel maybe he's playing with his wedding ring because he's I know my wife's mannerisms and behavior, and I know my son, and looking at my son, I'm realizing that he's a lot more like his mom than I thought, and so that's why he's playing with the wedding ring. He's thinking about Emily, or he could even be thinking, you know, like, my child is misguided now without his mother. He's going through a rebellious phase because he misses his mom, and so maybe that's why he's playing with the ring as well. Like, there's so many possibilities, and so he could be playing with his ring too because he thinks, like, oh shit, like, I gotta get Emily back, like, soon, because, you know, my son is being led astray by all of these people, and it's because of the loss of his mother. There's just so many things that it could be. I love the Senti-monster theory, but I'm personally attached to the idea that it's Emily's pin, not the wedding ring. So yeah, that is where I want to end off for today. I hope that you all enjoyed, but let's look at the end card really quickly and see his eyebrows. It seems like he's just suspicious. It doesn't seem like it's like, oh yeah, like, I controlled my son, right? Like, it doesn't seem like that. It seems where he's playing with his ring and he's suspicious. He's like, like, I don't know, you're not acting right? And so I feel like that's what it is. I feel like he's being suspicious of Adrien, if anything. And so yeah, that is all from me, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed my little discussion about this episode. If you did, remember to share this video, obviously, with your miraculous friends, and make sure you subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can get notified when I post other videos that can actually be monetized, because these ones can't, right? So I'm gonna do, like, the Senti-monster thing, and then a theory about the Cat Noir falling out of love with Ladybug thing sometime. And so yeah, I hope that you all enjoyed, and have a miraculous day, everyone. Bye!